Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, a few days ago, we had a wonderful new, and I say new to me, plant-based physician on named Dr. Sandra Musial. She did a wonderful PowerPoint presentation telling her story. If you missed that episode, I'll link to it right below in the show notes, and made her famous granola. Well, today she's brought back two friends and colleagues that are also new to me. They are plant-based doctors. They work together and they're called Plant Docs, and their names are Dr. Sandra Musial, Dr. Stein, and Dr. Lee. And please welcome them to the show. It's nice to meet this wonderful trio of plant-based doctors.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. How'd y'all get together in doing such a fun thing together?
Well, we're going to tell a little bit of story about how Plant Docs started when we do our slides, but I was looking for partners in crime to do this, to not do it by myself. And Suyin and I were actually in a book club together and had no idea that we had this common interest of food as medicine. I don't remember how that came to light.
Yeah, I think Steven and I were in a practice together, and we had talked about doing plant-based, clinical work, teaching our patients how to become plant-based to treat chronic diseases. And we were all kind of in a flux. And one day Sandy said, "Hey, I'm kind of starting this program. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Oh my God," like it was like fate. It brought us together. It was somebody was sort of, doing the knobs, and it brought us together to start this program. And we got our Plant Docs company together in 3 months. Yeah.
Now, were you guys all plant docs before? In other words, were all three of you plant-based, and this was just kind of a coincidence that you were friends and colleagues?
I think we were all interested in plant-based approaches to treating our patients. I mean, I personally had gone to some conferences when Neil Barnard's conferences, and we went to a lifestyle medicine conference together. So we had each individually sort of taken interest. You've been doing nutrition-based for years, Sandy. So it all coincided with the opening of this really great plant-based food hall in Providence. So it all kind of came together really nicely.
Right.
That's amazing. Now, what are your specialties, each of you, in medicine?
I'm a family medicine physician. I've been in practice 23 years. Yeah.
Also certified in lifestyle.
We'll be certified in lifestyle.
To be certified in lifestyle medicine.
Right.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm a pediatrician by training, but also got board certified in obesity medicine, and I plan on doing the lifestyle medicine training as well.
Pretty soon we're going to need obesity specialists for pediatrics. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. But we already do it.
Yeah. And you, Dr. Stein, what's your specialty?
So I actually work in the same office with Dr. Lee, family medicine, and I also do a couple other things on the side, some hospice, some Botox, little.
Oh my God. Do each of you have a plant-based story like Dr. Musial? She did a wonderful presentation of how she became plant-based, why and when. You don't have to do a whole PowerPoint, but do either of you have a little story about how you got interested?
I went to a conference. I went with Steve and another one of our other partners, and I was sort of blown away because we don't get this in medical school. We don't get it in residency, and it was sort of very, very eye-opening for me. And that was back in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to do this in my practice. Like, how do I get people to do this so they can control their diabetes and their hypertension and high cholesterol? And to be fair, I said, well, I can't ask them to do it if I'm not doing it. So I decided to transition. Took me about 6 months. I wasn't one of those people that said, okay, starting today, I'm not going to eat any animal products. I kind of transitioned, and took me 6 months, and I felt much better. I mean, I'm healthy, but after doing it, it was sort of like, oh, this is not that bad. It's easy. We can do it.
But I remember the one thing she said, I could not give up cheese.
Right.
And so I had them over and served this platter of all plant-based cheeses and hors d'oeuvres. And she was like,
could do this. Yeah.
I always wonder because, doctors obviously are smart. You have to be even just to get into medical school, you have to be smarter than the average bear. And yet when it comes to nutrition, I'm not saying they're not smart, but so many of them just it's not even in their wheelhouse. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it doesn't, to Sue's point, we don't get taught a lot about, we get stuff about a little bit about nutrition and metabolism, et cetera, in med school, but we don't understand the way people eat and how how to change the people's relationships with food, which are very important. So I think it's true.
Do you think it would help if this was like a mandatory curriculum in medical schools? Because my understanding, both my brothers are doctors, and I have like 13 cousins and nieces and nephews, and some even recent graduates, and they say they really didn't learn anything about nutrition in medical school, with the exception of like if somebody's a burn patient, they need maybe more calories, or pregnant, that kind of thing. And they said even when you take the boards, what you did learn on nutrition, it's not even, you're not tested on it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you certainly don't learn how to put it into practice with day to day with your patients.
And it's really the board questions drive what's being taught in the curriculum, because everyone wants their students to be A+ students. Mm-hmm. So we need to get the board questions, to reflect what's really important.
So really, medical school seems to be more about like treating disease rather than preventing it and reversing it.
Very true.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, there's a huge medical industrial complex. And it's very hard to get traction on, curricular things that aren't going to, equal somebody being able to sell some huge product that's going to, or do some procedure that's going to fix things.
I've always said there's no money in kale.
I hate to sound cynical, but you kind of,
it's unfortunate, but yeah, because I mean, it's true. We'll always need doctors, even if everybody went vegan. I mean, there's going to be accidents, there's going to be genetic things. I mean, people are going to get sick, but when you think about how much disease is chronic disease and could be avoided by a change in diet and lifestyle, like I heard it was like 70% or so.
Yes, that's what I heard, the same stat. 70%.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love it. Well, I love that. I mean, and who'd have thunk in such a small state you'd all have come together like this?
The other thing, AJ, is that I've been doing this maybe 20 years, primary care, and you get tired after a while, and you start to get a little bit of that burnout in your career, and helping people really change their lives and feel better. Not just, oh, great, I'm taking a cholesterol pill, now my cholesterol is lower, and I have diabetes, but I'm taking all these medications and injections, so now my sugar's better, which is all very important stuff that we need to do, but you don't feel any better when you're taking all these medications. You don't feel more energy. You don't have...
Right, you just have better numbers.
Just better numbers, right? And you're supposed to treat the patient, not the numbers. That's what we always learned.
Yeah. It's everybody I know that's in lifestyle medicine they feel like it's so gratifying what they do, especially if they practice the conventional way first, where people weren't getting better.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna, if it's okay, share my screen now. We just have a little PowerPoint presentation to go over our programs that we've been running through Plant Docs, and then we have a little cooking demonstration.
Wow. I love this. 3 for the price of 1.
At 7 a.m., no less.
All right, there we go. Chef AJ. So this is our company, Plant Docs, with the tagline, Real Foods Heal. And this is the 3 of us. So let's see. This is our favorite quote that we start all of our programs with. The food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine, or it can be the slowest form of poison, by Anne Wigmore. And I know I said it at my last one, but it's just so important. It really kind of defines what we do, because depending on your choice of food, it can be detrimental to your health, as the standard American diet is proving with the epidemic of obesity and diabetes and heart disease, cancers, inflammatory conditions, autoimmune diseases. Or if you choose really super healthy foods, you can be healthy. So every time you eat, you have a choice. They're kind of at a fork in the road. And you can choose foods that are kind of what we teach to our participants, like A through F is like our nice simple way of looking for it. And we're going to go over those. But like A foods are those that are fighting disease and boosting your immunity, maximizing your health, maximizing your body to be the best it can possibly be health-wise, so that it can function the best. Or feeding disease, like F foods causing inflammation. So this is the field of food as medicine that we're practicing in our programs. And we're doing it at Plant City. That was started by Kim Anderson, who's become a colleague and friend of ours. And it's the world's first plant-based food hall in the world, but it's in our little state in Providence, Rhode Island. It's 4 restaurants, a marketplace, a coffee bar, there's kombucha on tap.
All within under one roof.
All under one roof. And in the basement is a cellar where there's community space that's you can see in this picture where classes are run. So we're going to just go over what our Jumpstart Your Health program looked like before and after COVID.
So our program is called Jumpstart Your Health, and we started as a 5-week program, and it was all live because this was before the pandemic. We met each week. And each class consisted of community building at the beginning, where everyone would sort of introduce themselves and come with their goals, dreams, challenges, and then we had education by, we did slide presentations, we had videos, and then we did a cooking demo and a tasting. And we would, as you can see in the picture, we would cook whatever the recipe was for that evening. And then everyone would get a taste. That's Steve and I, and then Ella, who was our Food for Life instructor.
And she was actually on your show earlier in the spring and referred us. She's great.
Ella Rodriguez, yeah, she has amazing programs that she also runs out of Plant City. And then we also did blood work before and after the program, and we assessed for high cholesterol, cholesterol panels, diabetic status, whether people had fatty liver disease, and then inflammatory state. We did before and after weights. We checked their blood pressure and their body mass index. And then we also did weekly field trips. And these were interesting because we would actually go as a group to a market and we would learn how to label read, nutrition labels. We did exercises, we did meditation, we did walks. So every week it was something different, a different type of activity where we would put what we learned during the education portion, we would put it into practice. And then we had an individual MD, a doctor consultation one-on-one before and after the program. And this is what makes our program different, is that it's run by physicians. So it's not just, we're not just doing nutrition, education, and cooking. We're also sort of assessing your health status during the program before and after. The whole cost was $350. We really wanted to keep the cost down because we want this to be affordable to everyone. So people who couldn't afford that cost, was a cost for supplies, foods, ingredients, and then 9, meetings. We had scholarships. And then sometimes it could do like 2 for 1 if people couldn't afford it. So we really wanted, we wanted to make it accessible and affordable for lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was one of our smaller Jumpstart classes in November. We were on our 6th Jumpstart. And I just want to mention the little green boxes on the slides are testimonials from our participants along the way. They're just little blurbs that I put on Instagram, but I just throw them on periodically. And so during COVID, we kind of had this period of dormancy where we had to stop the classes, and then we got introduced to Zoom, and we did a reevaluation and restarted up with a new program that was held partly, we called it a hybrid program, partly in Plant City Cellar, but that part we made it only educational, no more live cooking. And Steve's going to go over the classes post-COVID.
Jumpstart Your Health 2.0. So this was post-COVID. We changed a couple of things. Obviously, we couldn't do everything we used to do live. We couldn't do the live cooking demonstrations in front of people. So we came up with this hybrid model where for the first and the last of the 4 classes, we did meet live, did a lot of education. We did some slide presentations. We did some looking at foods and stuff and reading labels together. But for the middle 2 classes, number 2 and 3, we did a hybrid where we had all the participants prep all the ingredients at home that we were going to use for that class's dishes. And in the 2nd class and the 3rd class, so the 3 of us would get together here and we would have our participants online and we would all cook together, answer questions as we went. It was really a ton of fun. We would make a breakfast option, a lunch option, and a dinner option all in the 1.5-hour class. And then we would all, people would be eating, tasting as they were going and then tasting the dishes after they were done. And it was a lot of fun. So we did it that way with 2 live, 2 remote. And we did a lot of the same blood work. We were able to still do the MD consultations, et cetera. We did the weights before and after. We lowered the price a little bit, obviously, because it was virtual, but it was very successful. People had a lot of fun, and getting people to be hands-on and actually go to the
it worked out better. Yeah.
Go to the supermarket and not just watch us prepare the kale, but actually have to go and get the kale and it's a big step to get people over that hump of like, I've never bought kale and done anything with it before, or tofu or whatever, and now they have to do it. And not everybody loved everything, but for the most part, people definitely benefited.
Yeah, they were definitely empowered by the cooking, and that was the feedback we got. So we decided to keep that as a permanent model. So we're just going to share with you some of the tools we share with our participants.
So the first tool that we sort of talk about is Dr. Barnard's Power Plate. Neil Barnard, he's a physician. He started the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine down in DC. And he's a big guru in the plant-based lifestyle medicine field. So he came up with this Power Plate, and each meal that you eat, you should use this plate as a guide and divide it into 4s, quarter fruit, quarter grains, whole grains, quarter vegetables, and quarter legumes. And if you eat this way, you will get all the nutrition that you need for the day. And it's an easy guide to use because you don't have to measure things. You can just say, oh, I had my quarter of fruit and quarter of grains and quarter of vegetables and quarter of beans. So it's an easy tool to guide you.
Mm-hmm.
And we also teach healthy fats through nuts, seeds, ground flaxseed, olives, and no oil, no processed foods.
And this is another tool that we use. This is the A through F food grading system. And it basically, I'm not going to read all the list of food categories there, but it basically starts with foods that basically are as they grow out of the ground or off the tree or whatever, however they, come to be unprocessed. So, and as you move from the most unprocessed, natural whole food state down through these grades, you see each step you kind of get a little bit more processing, a little more additives to the foods, a little more addition of animal products like dairy, eggs, butter, cheese, etc., meats, fishes. And then oils, you can see category C there, oils, the things that are extracted from the foods. We want to eat the whole foods. And that takes you all the way down to category F, which is your really stuff that you should really avoid at all costs. Fast foods, fried foods, French fries. It's kind of nice that they all start with F. That's just a coincidence. But those are the foods you don't want to eat.
So we try to say, try to eat from the A, B category
right.
and minimize the C, D, F.
Yeah.
And then another tool is the Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. It's an app that's free on your phone, that's accessible to anyone, but it's a great guide for someone who's kind of new to this and to try to get everything you need. If anyone's worried about getting enough X, Y, or Z, calcium or nutrients, if they're doing this, they're getting it. You don't need to weigh anything or measure or count calories. You just need to eat from all these nutritious foods, and you'll feed your body the fuel it needs to heal itself.
Okay, and then the other skill that we try to teach during the program is about label reading. And label reading can be difficult for people who are not used to doing this. The boxes, first of all, the letters and boxes are so tiny, and there's a reason for that, because the manufacturers who put these labels on do not want you to read it, because they don't want you to see all the bad ingredients that they put into their processed foods. So, but sort of the down and dirty, easy rule for label reading when you go to the store. So when you look at the ingredient list, the first 3 ingredients should not have any oil, sugar, or refined flour. If you see any of those, if you see any kind of oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, coconut oil, palm oil, or any sugar, glucose, dextrose, anything that ends in ose, or any kind of flour, get rid of it, put it back on the shelf. Another quick rule, the 3-3-6 rule, okay? And these refer to the fat, the fiber, and the sugar content in your in the food that you're going to buy. So it should be less than 3 grams of fat per serving, greater than 3 grams of fiber per serving, and less than 6 grams of sugar per serving. Okay, so 3-3-6 rule. And then the amount of sugar that's in a serving, it's really hard to imagine what a gram or 5 grams of sugar is. Imagine the volume of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the number of grams of sugar and divide that by 4 so that you get the number of teaspoons of sugar per serving. Because you could see what 2 teaspoons is, but you can't, visualize 5 grams of sugar, right?
And the other thing is to note serving size.
Yeah.
And that most foods that have labels on them are questionable to begin with anyway. So just wanted to say that. So another tool we do is we do menu planning, because people, our participants are making big transitions from pre being plant-based to being plant-based. And it can be very difficult to imagine, walk out and think, geez, what am I going to eat for breakfast? These people are eating, people eat eggs for breakfast and, Subway sandwiches for lunch and all this stuff. And they're like, geez, what am I going to eat? So we do this thing where we divide everybody into 3 groups, and each of us goes with each one of the groups. And then we talk about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we rotate. So the breakfast person goes to the next group. And then this slide shows you some of the things that we can use as kind of jump off points to try to find things that people will like to eat. So if somebody loves eggs, maybe we'll focus on the tofu scramble. If somebody loves potatoes, like home fries and in red, we'll do something with home fries and veggies that can be prepared with low oil, et cetera, et cetera. That's our menu plan. We want people to leave feeling like they're ready to go.
So we wanted to share with you some of the results from our Jumpstart Your Health programs. We've run 12 of them so far, and we've probably about 160 people have gone through. And I just want to stress that what we're teaching and our goal is about health, not about weight loss, even though this is the first thing I'm going to share. So it's not like a weight loss clinic, and the goal isn't weight loss. The goal is getting healthy. The goal is learning to eat whole food, plant-based, no oil, to be the healthiest person you can be.
And to feel better.
And weight loss is a side effect. If you're heavy, you'll lose weight. So the average weight loss for everyone in the program that we have before and after weights on. And I just want to explain in parentheses where it says N equals a number, that's the number of people that contribute to that data. So we have 104 people that we have before and after weights on. And I just also want to mention, this is not published, and we haven't evaluated the statistics of this yet, although this is in the process, and we're hoping to publish this so that we can get the word out on the success of the program. So the average weight for everyone was 4 pounds, but if people had a BMI over 30, which is the definition of obesity, the average weight loss was 5 pounds in the month. And this is actually perfect. It's what we want as physicians for the healthiest weight loss, is like a pound a week. So the second data I want to share is about total cholesterol, which is kind of all the different lipids in your body added up together. And, you want it under 200. The average cholesterol drop for everyone was 25 points. And the average cholesterol drop for people who started with an elevated cholesterol over 200 was 38 points. It's a big drop in 1 month. And then I have this biggest loser category because our goal is really to make these kinds of numbers drop, not the focus on weight. So the biggest loser of everyone that's gone through our program had dropped their cholesterol 119 points. LDL is your bad cholesterol. So in this picture, it's the yellow blobs. The good cholesterol is your HDL. That's kind of helps to clear your arteries out. But the bad cholesterol, your LDL, contributes to initially fatty streaking that eventually leads to plaque buildup and hardening of the arteries, or coronary artery disease that blocks the flow of blood in your vessels.
Heart disease, angina, all those things.
Stroke.
Yeah. So the average LDL drop for everyone was 10. And the average LDL drop for those with an elevated LDL over 100 was 22 points. And how does that compare to like statins?
I think statins basically will drop your LDL about 30%. So we're starting at 100, and with your LDL, it'll drop into the 60s. So you can see this is not far off. But there's also intangible benefits of eating this way that that statins don't give you.
And statins often make you have side effects. And
yes.
People.
I mean, statins. Not to miss the point that statins are actually an amazing, medical contribution to decreasing heart disease and death and stroke, et cetera. But we have to look at some other approaches as well for the appropriate patients.
And people that do this can avoid going on statins and can lower their cholesterol and LDL. So the biggest loser with the LDL was 92 points. And then triglycerides was another data point. The average triglyceride drop for those with elevated triglycerides was 22 points. And triglycerides are one of the lipids, and the things that make it go up are alcohol, sugary foods, refined flours, and saturated and trans fats. So the biggest loser and out of everyone had a 123-point drop, which is huge. And then I just want to share just background about why we're checking for fatty liver disease. There's the normal livers on the left. And then if you eat too much fatty foods, not only do you get like fat tissue under your skin as you gain weight, but it also gets into your organs and your cells. So a fatty liver, if gone unchecked, will progress to this. This is a progression from healthy to fatty liver. It can become NASH and cirrhosis. And so the fatty liver is reversible with diet, but cirrhosis is irreversible because it's scarring of your liver. So risk factors for this are too much fat, dietary fat that you eat, excess body weight, high cholesterol, and triglycerides, diabetes, or just bad genes. So we do screen for this by testing AST and ALT, and the average drop was 23 and 29 points out of the 14 people that had it before and after. So it is an effective way to treat fatty liver disease. And then another lab we check for is high sensitivity CRP, which is a marker of inflammation. And the high sensitivity one, the HS, is more specific to heart disease. And you really want it under 1 for the lowest risk. And for people that had it over 3 to begin with, the average drop was 2.5, which may not sound like a lot, but given how low the numbers are, it
can move you into a lower risk category.
And then I just want to talk about diabetes is also like a spectrum from insulin resistance, where the cells aren't responding to the insulin. And I just want to explain that because I think this is super, super important. When you eat and it's broken down into glucose, which is the sugar, just our fancy word for sugar, the sugar needs to get into the cell and it needs to go through these purple receptors. Insulin is the key that lets the sugar into the cell. And in a normal function body, that works just fine. But if you have excess dietary fat, excess weight, the fat not only gets into your organs, but it gets into your cells. And that's what this yellow is. And it interferes with the body's ability to take on that glucose. So it ends up building up outside of the cells. And when that happens, it sticks to the red blood cells. And when we're
and other cells and damage them over time.
Yeah. And so what we do to measure it is get a hemoglobin A1C. And some people just call it an A1C. And what we're looking for is how much glucose is stuck to those red blood cells. So the normal ones on the left and the abnormal ones on the right. And a normal A1C is below 5.7, that green zone on the arrow. Pre-diabetes is kind of starting to get diabetes, getting more insulin resistance. Your cells are not functioning properly, 5.7 to 6.4. And then when it's over 6.5, it's type 2 diabetes. And so we measure that. We've had great success in reversing pre-diabetes. Some people found out they had it, didn't know they had it. For people that came into our program with type 2 diabetes, we see better glucose control as early as the 1st or 2nd week, less need for diabetes medication, and their A1Cs go down. So other subjective results, when people finish our program, they just feel better, they're sleeping better, they're less pain, they have improved bowel function, like less constipation, clearer skin. They like that they can control something in their health, because so many times you feel like you can't, you just have to take a pill. Reflux gets better, more energy. So people really feel great when they do the program. So we're just going to go over some of our programs that are coming up, and then we're going to do our
cooking demo.
Okay. So you've heard about the Jumpstart Your Health. That's sort of our main star of our Plant Docs programs. And we're doing 2 that's coming up September. It'll be all remote. Sandy's going to be leading that one. And then in October, it'll be the hybrid form where all 3 of us will be involved. We'll do the education classes live. And then the cooking demos remote. You can do that. You have the option to do it all remote if you're not in the Providence or Rhode Island area. And again, if you have any problems, being able to afford it, talk to us and we can work something out.
And you can learn about all of our programs on our website at the bottom, plantdocspvd.com. Another program we're offering in October is specific to cancer survivors. I just feel like there's a need to let cancer patients know that there is something, diet is something they can control and does matter. And I feel like so often they're told it doesn't matter what you eat. And there are foods that have been shown that really help boost your immune system and help fight off cancer. So I have a class coming up in October that's called Jumpstart Your Health for cancer survivors. It's going to be fully remote, so you can do it from home. It's only an hour long. It's going to be a little bit of education about the food group. Like one week we'll do like mushrooms or the allium family with like onions and garlic. And then the other half of it we'll cook with it. And together I'll share a recipe. So there's 5 different foods we'll focus on. And I also have a cooking class that we do every month by Zoom. Anyone can join in, just go on the website and we learn about why each ingredient and whatever we make is healthful. There's nothing bad in there, no oils, all whole foods, all AB foods. And I also offer private MD consultations that can be done remotely or if you're local at Plant City, I have an office and they can be more specific if you have like, you want more intense, deeper dive, one-on-one. And
Sue and I, Dr. Lee and I work at Family Medicine Associates in Attleboro. We
that's in Mass, right over the border of Rhode Island.
And we loved having patients come to us who are interested in hearing more about plant-based approaches to their health. So that's us.
All right.
Here's contact info.
Contact us. There's Plant Docs PVD. PVD is short for Providence. And that's our Instagram and Facebook handle as well at Plant Docs PVD. And our YouTube channel is Plant Docs, not to be confused with the guy who cures plants. So what we're going to make today is Anybean, Anygreen, Anygrain with a creamy lemon tahini cashew sauce. And Sue's going to start by just going over.
I'm going to show you some stuff.
Now, do you want to take it off the slide so we can see you bigger, or do you want to keep that?
Yes, thank you.
That graphic. Sure. There's a few questions that came in, but we can catch them at the end if you like.
Oh, so we have to fly through this.
Okay. So we're doing, the recipe is called Any Bean, Any Green, Any Grain. Okay.
Abagag.
Abagag. That's the, and this is a really good versatile recipe. We love it because you can substitute whenever you make it and make a different meal out of it. So any bean, it can be either dry or canned. So this is a garbanzo bean. We have pinto beans, cannellini, black bean, anything. We're using butter beans today. We're using canned butter beans. But I also want to give a shout out to dried beans because you can batch cook these and freeze them, and it's really easy to do. It does take a little longer to cook them, but if you batch cook it and put it in the freezer, it's really convenient in terms of coming home from work and then just putting it in the microwave. And then any green. So here are our greens, and today we're going to be using Swiss chard, but you can use kale. You can use, this is a Napa Chinese cabbage, broccoli, baby bok choy, any green that you like. And then any grain. So grains are a really important source of protein. You want to eat these. It's a good source of fiber. So today we're going to be using black rice, which is really full of minerals and iron. Here's the black rice. And we've pre-cooked ours, but you can substitute any grain. This is freekeh, millet, brown rice. And make sure it's whole grains. When you buy grains, make sure it says whole grains. Right. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start. There you go.
Okay.
A little more. There we go.
Let's start with our cashew sauce, I think, right?
This sauce is amazing. Okay. So It's, if you want a cheesy sauce for your vegetables, you can put it in salad dressing, but we're going to use it for our recipe today. So we're going to put in
1 cup of nut milk.
Okay, so.
And this morning we're making this, basically it's the cashews and the nut milk that make the base of the sauce. So we soaked our cashews for a couple of hours, and we're going to add
Raw
a half
cashews.
a cup of cashews. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of miso.
And miso is a fermented soy. It's an Asian paste, and the form of bean that we use in here, because if we're thinking about the power plate or the daily dozen.
It's a little sticky.
Yes.
And then we're going to do a 1/4 cup of tahini.
It doesn't usually take 3 people to do this, by the way.
Yes.
You can do this alone at home.
Ask 3 people.
Yes.
And they don't have to be medical doctors.
They don't have
No.
medical doctors.
There we go. Tahini.
It's in the middle here.
Tahini is a form of sesame.
It's just ground sesame
Yeah.
seeds.
And then we're going to do the juice from half a lemon.
So here's our lemon. You
Roll
roll
it
it.
Loosen up the juice.
Let the juices get all activated in there. So believe it or not, I mean, I'm sure Chef AJ, your audiences, know a lot of this stuff, but a lot of the participants in our program, it's the first time they're using any of these ingredients. And it's, it is really truly an education for them. Okay, so
Lemon juice.
lemon juice.
And we're going to do 2 or 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast.
Which is really yummy. It gives it a
This
nice
gives it a cheesy flavor.
and a lot of nutritious.
But if you didn't, did you do 2?
Oh, 2.
And if you don't like this, you could leave it out and have it be, add more spices, have it be more savory.
Mhm.
And then we're going to do half a teaspoon of mustard.
A little Dijon mustard.
But you can use any mustard you like.
1 clove of garlic.
Clove of garlic, we're just gonna throw it in
And
there.
this is a high power, high speed blender. So if you have one that doesn't really totally pulverize everything, you might want to chop up the garlic or use a garlic
So this
press.
is,
You can add a half teaspoon of turmeric. This is a great
Turmeric.
anti-inflammatory spice.
Mhm. And it's delicious.
and you should have it every day.
And it gives it like this great kind of creamy color. And then whenever you use turmeric, you always want to put in just,
Little
a
bit.
little bit of black pepper. It increases the absorption by 2,000 times. Cayenne pepper, plus minus, if you like it
Little spicy.
or,
Okay.
and then you can leave out the salt if there's concerns with
Blood pressure.
blood pressure, hypertension, or you can put it in.
The miso is going to give it some saltiness too. So
And then you
Easy
blend
to
her
try
up.
without
We're
it.
just gonna,
That easy.
It's going to be a little loud. So
ready?
not going to be able to.
Okay, here you go. So I did that about 25 seconds. And
So amazing.
it comes out really creamy.
Mm.
See, like, it's become it's a cheesy sauce. You wouldn't be able to tell that this is not a
It's like a
cheesy sauce.
bechamel
Yeah. Without the cream.
without the cream.
All right,
Maybe eggs
so
or
we're
whatever,
gonna
some butter.
leave that to the side and cook our
Okay.
other
We're gonna
course,
now we're
other
gonna- the Swiss,
ingredients.
Next step is the Swiss chard. Maybe if you can heat up the pan. And so I'm just going to quickly strip the shard like this. Pull the leaves right off of the stems. Boom. Boom. It's really good. If you didn't do any exercise that day, this fits the bill. There's muscles going. And then these are really good because if you use Swiss chard, it's one of the really good greens, but it's also good because the stems are nice and soft. So you can actually use the stems in the dish. Just cut off the bottom part like so, and chop up the stems into pieces like this.
And the stems take a little longer to cook than the leafy green part, so we give the stems a head start. And that would be true of like bok choy, Swiss chard, the leafy greens that have
Put it in here.
Right into our pan. We're going to throw a little veggie broth in there too to help it not burn too much, and just kind of cook them through until they get a little soft. Put it right back there into the stove, and we can see it a little bit.
We're going to use a veggie broth for a little bit.
You can make your own. You could use AJ's
You could use it from
breakfast veggie
your
drink
this morning.
And then we're going to take the rest of the shard, the leafy part, and just sort of cut it into little strips like so. This helps it cook down nicely. You could do whole leaf if you want because it'll reduce. And it helps it cook a little more quickly. Certainly don't use any of our knife skills as an example because we went to med school, not chef school. Can take off a mole, but I can't cut the shard. So the shard goes in there with the stems. Get all the rest of that. And then that's really it's just sort of a light, heating through because, there's going to be some moisture that comes out of the shard, and a little bit of broth at the bottom of the pan just to give it a little extra flavor and keep it from sticking. And you can add broth as you go if it seems like it's drying out. And then when it just kind of gets real wilted and softens, it's ready to be used in the dish.
So there's no oil in this.
Swiss chard, I gotta say, is a really nice. Swiss chard and spinach are good starting points for the greens, just because they're not, kale can be a little tougher and you might want to cook it a little longer, but these two are really yummy when they get softened. They have like a sweetness, and it's also very pretty. The rainbow kale, you can get the rainbow chard, you can get like the stems are different colors like yellow and red. Very pretty. So we're going to cook that down. Now we're going to do the beans while that's cooking down. This is a really easy part of the recipe because all you need is a can of beans, and we're using butter beans. And you use your colander. I'm going to drain these out. Make sure you got them all, which we did. Give them a quick rinse.
Rinsing helps remove some of the coating that sometimes is harder for some people to digest and can lead to excess gas. So that's just one of the tips for helping with digestion.
The other thing we tell people when they get into eating beans is that, a lot of people complain about the digestive part of it, that it's that they're hard to digest. And the smaller one, you start smaller, so like lentils, small adzuki beans, stuff like that will be easier to digest off of that. So these we're just going to heat through. No fancy cooking here. Just a low heat. Just the beans. Nothing else but the beans, because between the beans and the grains and the greens and the sauce really does the trick. We already have our black rice over here in Sue's. Can I push this down? In Sue's rice cooker. So it's hard to see because it's black, but it's in there.
Sometimes it looks purple. The black rice can have a purple appearance.
See, there's the black rice.
It's very rich in antioxidants. It's a whole grain.
Delicious. A lot of dishes it's combined with other kinds of grains, brown rice. All right, I think our greens are looking good. They're looking kind of softened through. So now we're going to go ahead and plate.
Yes.
All right.
Fancy
schmancy here. Black
It's all
rice.
in the plating.
It's all in the, that's what I always say. It's all in the plating. All right. So we just make a little pile of rice. It's good. Oh, made a mess already. What are you going to do? And then we're going to do our greens first. Doesn't really matter, but let's do the greens next.
Okay.
Fancy thing here. So nice little pile in there. smells really good. Some of the little pieces, the little stems you can put around.
And one thing I want to point out is leafy greens for people who are plant-based is an important source of calcium and iron, and any acid will increase the absorption. So we have the lemon in our sauce, when paired with the leafy greens, really increases the calcium and iron absorption.
And here are the butter beans just heated through. And these you can just kind of strew around. Strewing.
I don't know if you should be strewing your beans.
They are strewn. Okay. Thank you. And now we're going to go for some sauce here.
All right, turning you around. Woo! Gotta go back here.
I think people overcomplicate plant-based eating and thinking they need like a recipe.
Oh, how easy is this? It doesn't get any easier.
And we're gonna strew the sauce now.
Yeah.
Drizzles.
Well, you guys really do a lot of strewing in Rhode Island, don't you?
Hey, it's a small state. You gotta find something to keep yourself busy.
That looks delicious.
Good.
You know, it's
Actually,
really good. I love greens for breakfast personally.
right.
I gotta take
We're
a
gonna take
picture
a
of
fork
this.
out and enjoy this.
That's the best strewing ever.
Now, if we had a little nice little
Picture
paprika or
worthy.
smoked paprika on there, we'd give it a little,
Oh,
little
yeah.
flare of color.
Oh yeah,
And sometimes
I'm already
we-
digging in.
Sometimes we do hemp little hemp seeds. They're delicious, give it a nice little crunchy texture.
The cayenne's over here. We're looking for cayenne.
No, I was looking for
Oh,
the
paprika.
paprika.
So good.
So doing this,
Would you like some hemp seeds?
I would. Funny.
Susan saying it looks yummy.
I should
Yeah,
have
and you
waited.
want
Wait,
you
now.
don't want to overdo your fancy schmancy, because then it just turns into a war zone.
I wish you were here so you can taste it.
No, it looks beautiful. You know what I've been sprinkling on everything is this product called Vegify, where it's dehydrated beet, purple carrot, orange carrot, or cauliflower, because then it's like these little crunchy things like croutons, but it's actually vegetables.
What
And
sounds great?
does it have a flavor to it, or it's just?
It has the flavor of the vegetables. So the cauliflower doesn't taste very strong, but you can really taste the beet and the carrot. I love it. And it makes it so pretty because it's like sprinkles that you would find on dessert, but it's vegetables because it comes in colors.
So were there some questions you mentioned?
Yeah, there was a couple of questions. I wrote them down. First, Monica said, can you talk about that formula where you converted something to grams to teaspoons? How does that work?
So number of the grams of sugar. So for instance, if something has 4 grams of sugar,
Like a good example is, like
Yeah.
Fanta soda.
Yeah.
A 20-ounce bottle of Fanta soda has 80 grams of sugar. You divide it by 4, that's 20 teaspoons of sugar in a Fanta soda.
That's a lot.
yeah.
I mean, I used to drink Dr. Pepper every day and Coke Slurpees. That's been 20 years, but I mean, I never thought about it that way, how much sugar it was.
If you empty one of the bottles and you put that amount of sugar
Yeah.
to show people how much of it is actually, it's like a quarter of the bottle is just sugar, white table sugar.
I think sugar is so addictive. Even I don't know the people that are able to moderate that. That's incredible. Karen's saying that marketplace sounds amazing. I'd love to meet those people. The idea of that is fantastic.
Yeah, and yeah.
Oh, Plant City, Plant City. It's got 4 restaurants and 4 different restaurants.
A tequila bar.
A marketplace.
Yeah.
Kombucha bar.
Who's the brainchild of that?
Kim
Kim
Anderson. I can
Anderson.
introduce you if you
Yeah, I'd love to. That's incredible. And
She worked with a chef.
Luis.
No, who was the guy?
Oh,
Like the whole concept.
Michael Kenny.
Kenny?
Matthew Kenny. Matthew Kenny, fabulous.
Yeah,
Nice.
and so it's got a nice
Those are
sheet
his
feel.
restaurants. 00 is his restaurant that he has. I think there might be one in LA at 00. There's one in Boston. It's the Italian fire grilled pizza.
Delicious.
Wow, amazing. So there's a question from Susanna. What's involved in getting certified in lifestyle medicine? Is it a specialty only for medical doctors, or can anybody get certified in lifestyle medicine?
Anybody can, well, you have to have some sort of a certification, whether you could be a nutritionist, you could be a physician, you could do it out as a resident, but the tracks are different depending on sort of where your jump off point is. And for us, as physicians, we need 30 credits of CME over 2-year period, I think.
3 years.
3 years, and then you need to sit for the boards for lifestyle medicine, and that would be sort of, that's when once you pass the boards, you're certified as a lifestyle medicine.
If you go
physician.
on American College of Lifestyle Medicine.org or whatever their website, I think it's actually aclm.org.
Yeah.
They have all the tracks on the website. You can look it up.
How hard was the test compared to like all the other tests?
I haven't taken it. We're done with the CME and we're on our way to studying for the boards right now. Yeah.
Oh, so I was going to ask you, what are some of the questions like? Oh, so you haven't done it yet.
They're mostly, well, some of the sample questions, it's mostly sort of case-based. So a patient with hypertension, diabetes comes to you and is interested in, so-and-so. And it's not only plant-based or diet. It's also based on other vitals of lifestyle medicine, like sleep, stress level, exercise. So it's sort of
smoking.
Right. It comprises the whole lifestyle that we are all trying to encourage our patients to follow, not just their eating habits. So
great, thanks. Okay, so here's a doctory type question for any of you from Rosanna. Can you comment on oxalates and calcium absorption?
Ooh.
Wow.
That's going to be on the board.
I don't think so.
I'm not
it's
sure.
a great question.
Yeah, that's something that's so specific. We'd have to kind of look into it. So I'm thinking that this person is asking about stones, right? Calcium oxalate, kidney stones.
Or,
Actually,
I think there's certain vegetables that are high in oxalates and can compete with calcium absorption. But sometimes in our classes we get very smart people, coming through that will ask questions, and we always do our research and look at the evidence-based, behind it, and get back to people and send out an email.
Right.
Yeah,
That's one of those ones.
If your viewer wants to pose that question on our website, we'll be happy to research it. And
Great, thank you. Could you please do that, Rosanna? That would be amazing. So Plant-Based Wife says, does Canada have any programs like this where somebody could get, she's an RN, where somebody could be certified in lifestyle medicine, or is it only if you live in the United States?
I think it's international.
Yeah, I think it is international.
And so a nurse could become certified then. You don't have to be an MD. That's fantastic. I love it. Here's a question on baking from Meadow. When you bake things on aluminum foil, does it have negative health effects? Should we always use parchment paper? I use a silicone baking pan.
Yeah, we always use parchment.
We would lean towards parchment paper or as a silicone, but I'm not aware of any reports or studies that shows that the use of aluminum foil has been detrimental in any sort of way. So not sure, but
a lot of people do the parchment and then do the aluminum. So I don't know.
Yeah. If I could just comment quickly, a lot of times, we do get very specific questions about these things. And, we like to sort of step back and just say, hey, you know what, you're completely overhauling the way you're eating. Whether you have too much oxalate or whether you have too much aluminum in or whether you're buying organic, we would urge organic buying, but not everybody buys organic, which is fine, because we just want people to not be living on Taco Bell and Wendy's and moving towards these foods that we're teaching.
I know people get so wrapped up in the minutia. I've had clients come to me, they're 100 pounds overweight, and then they worry about I can't use a microwave. And it's yeah, but we got other things that are more important first,
Very true. And there's so much information out there. There's so much people get hung up on and distracted. It's just eat the daily dozen and use the plate method, and you'll be okay.
Absolutely. Well, gosh, I wish we had a trio of plant-based doctors here that people could go to. I mean, there are a few, but that would be so cool.
You're in LA, right?
I was in LA, and then I moved to the desert for 3 years, and now I'm in Northern California, and I'm actually moving again today. So Chef AJ is always on the move. That's why we did this show so early, but I'm going to stay in the Northern California area. Yeah, LA was great for plant-based doctors. Oh my God. That's what I say. Every time I'm sick, I'm like, God, I sure miss Dr. Artal. He was a quadruple board certified vegan doctor at Cedars-Sinai, one of the best hospitals. Boy, that's one thing. I didn't like LA, but I did like the medical care there.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. We need more out here.
Yeah. Wow. Susanna wants to know, what are the healthy guidelines for sodium content in processed foods?
We use that quick. We have another quick rule for sodium. Yeah, It should be less than the amount of calories per serving.
That's just a kind of rule of thumb. I think the guideline, and if somebody should double check it, but if somebody's hypertensive and they're trying to control their sodium intake, I think 2,000 to 2,500 milligrams a day is, you don't want more than that. And that's, you know, and a lot of times people get you know, hung up on the salt shaker, like, oh, I don't do that. But a lot of times you really have to look at the labels of the foods you buy, because that's where they sneak all the sodium in to make it taste so good.
Yeah, that's
like a can of soup. You know, a lot of times they're very high sodium, and that trick is just a quick one to try to, you know, keep it under the number of calories.
Right, for serving.
Well, here's the question that every guest on Chef AJ Live gets, even if they're not vegan. Everybody wants to know what y'all eat in a day.
That's funny.
I eat this a lot. I do make this a lot. I always have granola for breakfast, and my granola recipe I made on Chef AJ a few days ago, and I have it on my YouTube channel. And I usually do leftovers from dinner that are repurposed for lunch into a salad. And how about you guys?
So,
Well, Steve and I, our desks are next to each other at the office, so we're always like, "What do you have? What do I?" So I mean,
I can tell you what Sue eats every day. She can tell you
all right, you tell them what
Sue
I eat.
usually has a really nice, beautiful looking greens-based fresh salad kind of situation going on. Sometimes she'll get like a really good vegan burger and heat that up and put it on top.
Some kind of top vegan topping.
Always has some grapes and some other fruits during the day.
Yeah. That's sort of
what about me?
So Steve actually, we have a little mini toaster, mini kitchen in our office, thankfully, and he will bring all of his ingredients uncooked and he will cook it in the toaster oven. So he'll cut up his sweet potato. He's got his beets or his tomatoes that a lot of his patients bring, fresh tomatoes. They bring it from their garden, and then he'll have some kind of a grain, and he'll cut up all the root vegetables, and he'll put it in the toaster, and he'll
at
make
11:15 a.m.
And so you can smell it in the office.
And then at noon. Boom,
That's
lunchtime,
awesome.
fresh cooked vegetables.
Wow, from scratch.
From scratch.
Yes.
A+.
That's his lunch. Yeah.
Have any of you been able to influence other doctors to become plant-based or more plant-based, or incorporate that in their practices?
Well, my husband is a physician, and I'm still trying. You probably read it in my bio. I'm still trying to convince him that this is the way to go, but have not succeeded yet.
What do you think his resistance is?
He loves his steaks. Loves his steaks.
What's his specialty?
Oh, he's an interventional radiologist.
He's fixing the heart disease.
Yeah, he's fixing the circulatory problems.
Well, has he seen Game Changers or Forks Over Knives?
Yes.
And he still won't. Well, I hope you don't make him the meat. Make him make his own.
Oh no, I don't. But he has said since I've become plant-based, he feels much better. And when he doesn't eat what I cook, he goes, I don't enjoy my meals anymore because of you, because you've made me plant-based 50%, and my body doesn't feel good when I don't eat your food.
Good for you.
And of our 160 people that have gone through the program, I think I can only think of 3 who were MDs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's hard
we're hoping to get more.
It's hard to change doctors the way they think in their practice. That's really hard.
I think it's hard to change anybody, even if they're not a doctor, but doctors are smart. So show them the data.
Yeah, but doctors are smart and comfortable with things that they feel like they have a good handle on. I mean, how do you get someone to start teaching how to eat vegan? It's just such a way out of left field for most doctors. It's really hard to do. It's
unfortunate that most people come to this after some kind of health crisis. It's not prophylactically.
Very true. And, I've talked a lot about with my patients, like a lot of people that are in their 30s or 40s, and they're starting to, the weight's coming on, and the blood pressure's creeping up, and the blood sugar's creeping up, and the cholesterol's creeping up. And that's when they're kind of like in this decision, in the fork in the road. The fork in the road, the decision decade, 30s. It's like, which way how do I want to age? Do I want to age healthy and energized and feeling good, or do I want to age, with more and more pills and more treatments? So sometimes that inspires them, but also they're inspired when I tell them that their kids, who are 5 years old, 4 years old, instead of eating chicken nuggets and pizza strips and that kind of stuff every day, they can start to eat, this way, or at least be exposed to it, so that they can get some idea of what it looks like to eat more healthy.
Yeah. Meadow says, is there a way for the public who may not be from Rhode Island to support your organization or even work with you? You could do remote things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, our Jumpstart in September is remote, and our the Jumpstart in October has 20 remote slots, plus the cancer class in October is all remote. We are a nonprofit, but we're not quite set up yet to take donations. We will be a 501c3 by the end of the year. Yeah, so we're looking to grow because we're newly established. We started in 2019, but we became a nonprofit this year.
And certainly if you have any friends or family members who you think would be interested or benefit from this kind of change in lifestyle, we would be more than happy to have them come and join us for one of our Jumpstart programs.
And we also, we have medical students, residents, and PA students that are also interested in, plant-based lifestyle, and they are coming to work with us. They volunteer their time, they come to the classes, they take blood pressures, they help with setting up the website, all those types of things. We are always looking for, if anyone's interested, and we can give a little bit of education and show you what we do in return. If you want to volunteer time or your skills or your talent, we'd love to have you.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great. Nancy says you need to come further north, like New Hampshire, hint, hint.
We had somebody from, was it Maine, who virtually did the program?
Yeah, New Hampshire's not that far away.
Yeah, try it out. We'll find a place we can stay.
So the question from Susanna, how do you docs treat those with elevated triglycerides that just won't come down?
That won't come down despite eating, if she's saying that won't come down despite eating a really healthy,
Yeah, she didn't follow that. I know Dr. McDougall says cut the fruit down when that happens, but
yeah, ground flax seeds, I don't know if she's already doing that, is helpful in helping to lower triglycerides as well, and alcohol.
No alcohol.
We don't, we don't harp on that too much, but that's a huge one for triglycerides.
Yeah.
Agreed.
interesting. Did not know that. Well,
Sometimes triglycerides it's familial, it's
Right,
genetic, and so you have to figure it out. But this is always the first place to go, is with your diet and alcohol, and then.
And
Right.
if the rest of the lipid panel looks okay, like the total cholesterol, the LDL, the HDL, if those look okay, triglycerides, they're supposed to be, I think, less than 150. So if you're like, if you're in like 200, 225, it's considered a little bit less of a predictor of heart disease nowadays than it used to be, where we used to have over 150. It was like, boom, they were on a medication right away. So now it's not as much of a concern. Now, if it gets up into the 500, 600, 700 range, then it really needs to be addressed for other reasons. But
that is great. There's a question on HDL, LDL. I just saw it from Janet. If LDL and HDL are equal at 110, do they equal out each other? I've been told one is good and one is bad. But if both high, do I not have to worry about it if total cholesterol is 210?
great question.
So LDL is the bad cholesterol. HDL is the good cholesterol. It gives a protective to your arteries. It protects your arteries from plaque buildup. And so what you want to actually see is an HDL. It doesn't have to be equal to LDL. It just needs to be higher than 40 to give it a protective effect. The LDL should be less than 100. If you have chronic diseases like diabetes, it should be less than 70. But nowadays, there's also an algorithm that we use to measure what's called atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease risk. And it's an algorithm that uses not just your cholesterol levels, but it also uses your age, your other chronic conditions like diabetes, whether you're a smoker, and it gives you a risk score after you put those factors in. So it's no longer just looking at the levels or the numbers of your cholesterol levels. You need to sort of factor in the whole person, the whole patient. So if you talk to your doctor and they talk to you and they say, oh, your LDL's high, you should also ask them about a atherosclerotic cardiovascular risk score. Ask them to calculate that out for you.
But if your patient had an HDL of 110,
oh, that's
which
great,
is fabulous.
Right?
Would you treat if her LDL is
No,
110?
no, you should not.
So
Yeah,
Definitely not. There's also something called the total cholesterol to HDL ratio, which is an important number. And that's when you take the total cholesterol. So let's say, was it Janet? Sorry, the name
220.
The name of the person is like, but when you take the total cholesterol, let's say someone has total cholesterol of 200 and their HDL is 50. So they have a 3-to-1 total cholesterol to,
So her
4-to-1 total cholesterol to HDL ratio, which is very good. So you want that number to be low.
So her ratio is 2.
Yeah, so her ratio, Sandy just calculated, is 2. Her total cholesterol to HDL ratio is 2. So she's
fine.
She's great.
Well, I'm not a doctor, but the way the analogy has been taught to me is that when one of the HDL, I believe, is the garbage trucks, and if you don't have garbage, you don't need garbage trucks.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like for a lay person?
It does, but the HDL, high HDL. So one of the patterns we see a lot, and it's related to all these questions, we see a lot of high triglycerides, low HDL. There's something called the metabolic syndrome, which has that as one of its cardinal descriptors. But so we see people that have a lot of high triglycerides and low HDL, and you want to kind of reverse that. And this kind of diet is perfect for reversing that, lowering triglycerides, raising HDL, and giving you much better numbers and better risk factors.
Cutting out the oil is an important part. A lot of people come to us thinking they're doing it right, but they're not cutting out the oil. When you really dive into it, they're getting it in all these hidden places they don't realize.
Yeah, like restaurants, for example.
Oh,
exactly.
Forget about it. You can't go to restaurants.
I don't. Oh, but you know what? Since I moved here, I actually got 3 restaurants to make food Chef AJ style. I mean, they as long as I call them 24 hours in advance, 12 hours in advance, they'll make my food. Because tomorrow is my 45th anniversary of becoming vegan. So we're celebrating at a restaurant, and it's yeah, I know. Can you believe it? I've been vegan longer than I think Dr. Lee's been alive.
Close.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I think so. You guys, well, you guys are great. Thank you. I just wish you were closer,
We're there. Our hearts are there with you.
It would be fun. This was so much fun. Feel free to come back anytime. You guys are just a joy. And I'm so thrilled at the work you're doing in the tiniest state in the United States.
Go Rhode Island, little Rhodey.
That is so cute. Anyway, thank you so much. This was a fabulous presentation, cooking demonstration, and I wish you every success in your Plant Docs venture. And I hope more people will find out about you. All the links to you guys are right below in the show notes. And then Dr. Musial show is also going to be posted there as well.
Good luck on your move today.
Thank you. We're actually just moving the boxes. I mean, we're in a rental, so I'm not like, but all the boxes are going from storage. It's a crazy long story, my life, but we'll save that for another show. But thank you. It was kind of fun doing this early because now I got the whole day ahead of me.
Good. Enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Plant Docs. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And thanks all of you for coming up so bright and early to watch another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow for my 45th vegan anniversary, when I'll have 2 fabulous guests at 11 a.m. from the ACLM, which is the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, Dr. Michelle Tollefson, who's going to be talking about insights from the Blue Zones, and at 2 p.m. from the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Michael Roizen, who's actually Dr. Esselson's boss, with a brand new book about how to reboot your age. Take care, everyone.